Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, everybody.
D'abord, je tiens à excuser
First of all, I'd like to apologize on behalf of FranceAgrimer for this remote presentation. Unfortunately, our friend Xavier-Rousselin, who was supposed to go and attend the conference, is not feeling well and cannot board a plane. Therefore, we'll do what we can, and apologies again for this situation. I'm going to try and present the durum wheat market in France on the basis of Xavier Rousselin's presentation. First of all, surfaces planted with durum wheat in France. After the drop in surfaces between 2011 and 2014, there was a plan to revive production. Between 2015 and 2016 led to an increase in surfaces planted, even though the final plan is to double the amount of surfaces by 2023. The bad harvest of 2016 for durum and for all straw cereals led to a decrease in planting by 2% and a closing of the spread in prices between durum and common wheat for the 2016 and 2017 campaign. The yield of durum wheat in France was extraordinarily low, especially in the central and southwestern regions of France, for the same weather reasons, too much rain and too little sunlight. Whereas, on the other hand, yields and quality were very high in southern regions, Provence, Alpes-Côte d'Azur, and Occitanie. As you can see on this graph by regions, the amount of surfaces increased in all regions between 2015 and 2016. In the previous period, however, the decrease of surfaces concerned the traditional durum regions of France, that is, southern regions. This is the evolution of yield of durum wheat in France. Even though there's an overall progress as an average, there's also a great amount of variability, which makes durum a risky production for farmers. Besides central France, where the situation was a real disaster in 2016, production was okay and good in other regions. On the other hand, the quality of durum grows worse from the southwest to the northwest. In the Loire region, durum wheat is being used for fodder, even though protein is quite high. This slide shows the processing of durum by the semolina industry. The French market uses 450 million tons of semolina, and 150 million tons are exported. It's more or less 40% of the durum wheat production in France, and this is more or less stable in the long term. This slide shows the curve of stocks at handlers. Stocks in 2016-17 are being sold slower than happened in the previous years. However, there's not going to be a large amount of stocks at the end of the campaign. This image represents the stocks stored with handlers. By this we mean stocks that are owned by the farmer and are physically stored with the handler before being sold. The increase of these stocks for this campaign is due, of course, to the low price of durum, which leads to a lower tendency to sell. Regarding long-term evolution of exports for durum, well, exports have been growing lower during these years, proportionally to the decrease of production. Durum wheat exported to Italy from France dropped. Of course, the Italian market is something that the French are losing in light of the Canadian competition. Now, exports of French durum to Maghreb. Exports are still quite high. There's a strong demand, even though it is quite variable, depending on the results of the local campaign. The bad production of 2016 led to a reduction in the amount available for export to third countries, even though there's still a strong demand in the long term. Of course, this demand is being met for the time being by countries other than France. This is what we expect for durum wheat in France in 2016-2017. This is a description of the three last campaigns. I'm not going to repeat what I said earlier. Imports account for 200,000 tons, as in 2014-2015 for the same reasons. Bad production at the local level. Regarding consumption, no great changes within the framework of the available amounts for exports. Exports to the European Union will not change, but they will decrease towards third countries. Then there's an increase in the others categories, which accounts for 100,000 tons of durum used for fodder, which is quite unusual. Let's have a look at the prospects for the 2017-18 campaign. In 2017, 377,000 hectares were seeded, with a decrease of 2.5% versus 2016. You will see that this reduction is not evenly spread among regions. As to yields, back to average yields, considering that 2016 was the worst year, but 2015 was the best one. So, besides that, we can say that there's a stable average yield of 54.1 quintals per hectare. Consumption is stable regarding industrial semolina producers. Small reduction, but still a large amount. At the European level, we envisage a reduction of production versus the record production of 2016 for Italy, Spain, and Greece. In Canada and the United States, there's also a decrease in the seeded surface and in yields. In Mexico, production and exports are similar to those of 2016, and in the Maghreb region, demand will decrease as against 2016 due to a better harvest in the Maghreb countries. In the European Union, production is expected to decrease because of a decrease in planted surfaces of 7%. Better yields are expected. According to the International Council for Cereals, the European production will decrease by 4%, 9 million tons, but will still be above the multi-year average. Let's have a look at France. This image describes what I was telling you earlier regarding the lower seeded surfaces, especially in northern regions, the regions where production had been larger in the last few years, central and western Atlantic regions, whereas surfaces are more or less stable in the southern regions, Provence, Alpes-Côte d'Azur, and Occitanie. This is the average production by region. There's a lower production because of smaller surfaces seeded, which accounts for more or less half of French production in the central and the western Atlantic regions. Therefore, the 2017 production will not substantially increase. This slide comes from Cereops. It's a weekly cereal watch. So far, the situation is considered good to very good for 75% of services, even though not as good or as large as the same figure last year. But this, of course, doesn't mean a great deal because all the problems last year came up in May and June. So for the time being, we still hope that this will continue till harvest. Now, a few words about logistics and exports from France. Port-la-Nouvelle on the Mediterranean seas has a direct hinterland contributing with 680,000 tons out of 1.6 million ton production in France. Storage capacity 76,000 tons and good loading capacity. Silos number 1, 1,000 tons per hour, and the eastern quays, 800 tons per hour, which is perfectly all right for the local needs. Now, the La Palisse port near La Rochelle on the Atlantic Sea has a direct hinterland accounting for 420,000 tons. This is the Western Atlantic region. The loading capacity of ships reaches 120,000 tons gross. One of the quays has a storage capacity of 340,000 tons and 3 loading stations, which load between 1,000 and 1,500 tons per hour. And then there's another one, 25,000 tons, with a loading capacity of 200 tons per hour. So no problem for the exports of durum wheat. I'm going to conclude by talking about the prices of durum in France. As you know, this is an important information, but what is also important is the spread between durum and common wheat. La Palisse and Port-la-Nouvelle are the two, let's say, main areas where prices are determined. We should keep into account, though, that these prices or these quotations are nominal because they have not been followed by actual transactions, so they're not very significant. The last slide compares prices of durum wheat and common wheat from 2015. The spread is much smaller now, and the main reduction occurred in last September. And this, of course, leads to the fact that the seeded surfaces are not increasing in spite of the revival plan. We hope this is just temporary and that our plan will continue to progress and succeed so that the production of durum may increase in France. Thank you very much for your attention.